So you're going to do integrated biology credit number 1, and it's about the biology and the chemistry of life. As you see here, there's a timeline about the history of life. The credits are built on the 5 E's, so when you go through the credits, you will meet the 5 E's in each lesson. And the 5 E's means engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. I'd like to ask, what do you actually understand when you have to engage in something?
Engage to me means getting involved in something, like being able to relate to it.
Something you don't know?
Yeah, like if you don't know, you just pretty much, let's say you offer up yourself, but you just try to get involved by engaging and trying to figure out what something is a little bit more if you don't know what it is.
So how do you explore that?
With explore, I feel personally you probably just kind of just jump into something, probably research it a little bit more, try to figure out it a little bit more in depth.
So engage to explore is a deeper understanding than to engage, do you think?
Yes, because I feel like exploring is more about putting yourself in something, getting more involved versus just, engaging is you're a part of it, but exploring is you're digging a little deeper into something.
Okay. So what if you have to explain something?
That's pretty much, explaining what you've either found or what you've learned or what you've explored. If you just finish engaging, you would explain your experience about that.
Talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it, communicate it.
Yeah. And elaborate.
I feel that means that you would explain something a little bit more in great details, like give specifics on something. You just expand a little bit more than what you're talking about. Just give more details, more specifics to explain something.
Okay. And evaluate. Being evaluated, what am I doing with you?
You're basically taking something that I've learned and I would say evaluating it, like what have I learned,
Exactly.
Yeah.
What did you understand?
What did I understand overall?
So when you go through the credit, you will have to go through those 5 E's for every lesson. The credits consist of those 5 lessons, as you see here: the study of life, the chemistry of life, the origin of life, the history of life, and learning outcome, which is a project. I'll explain that to you a little later. Before we get started, I have an essential question we have to answer, you have to answer. But just say whatever you think, because you don't know anything about this yet. You've not been reading anything, so just say what you think. And the essential question is, how can we investigate the past and present to predict the future of life on Earth?
Okay. Well, you take the history of past things. For example, like on this chart.
You can do it the picture.
Okay. It's obvious that history shows you what reptiles and jawless fish look like. So it gives you an idea of what is to expect or what is to come. The future of something, I feel, is always based on the past. And the past always helps us to understand what's going on now and what's going to be going on in the near future. So I think it's basically learning from the past, studying that, and basing our expectations on what has already occurred.
So are you saying that if organisms, animals, as you see here, if they changed in the past, are you saying that they will still change in the future?
Yeah, that they'll eventually evolve and as time goes on, things change,
Mhm.
So,
Okay, you can write that down in your answer.
okay.
Good. So the study of life, how do we organize life? Well, if you take all life, you can't say yet we're looking at the biosphere. That's the air, the ground, the water. That's the biosphere. Every place is where life are living. If you zoom in on what you call an ecosystem, you zoom in on a part of the biosphere. Like for example, here as a grassland or a desert. That's an ecosystem. It could also be a lake or forest. And if you want to zoom in again, you can zoom in on a community in that ecosystem. That could be different animals living in that ecosystem, plants and animals living in that ecosystem. That's a community. And again, if you want to zoom in even more, you can say, I don't want to look at all the different organisms. I only want to look at one population, for example, squirrels, and you look at the population of squirrels in that ecosystem. And again, if you want to zoom in even more, you can look at the individual, the organism. So that's the way you kind of know life is organized if you want to study it. I want to show you a little video now, and I'm going to make a question for you afterwards.
Still a lot left that's worth fighting for.
Racing Extinction, or Watch with the World Global Premiere, Wednesday at 9 on Discovery.
Biodiversity. Biodiversity is the variety of animals and plants found on this planet, including the geographic locations they are found in. The diversity of species is not evenly distributed throughout the planet because life depends on many factors, including geography. For example, tropical regions support more life than polar regions. Plants, animals, and climate work together to maintain the balance of nature. They act as nuts, bolts, and oil of a perfectly tuned machine. The pyramid of nature's balance. Biodiversity is important for sustaining life on Earth because it prevents any one species from throwing the balance of nature out of order. Snakes are not a welcome presence in our lives. So we fear them and try to get rid of them. One of the many things that snakes feed on is rats. If we were to kill all the snakes, we would end up having a terrible rat problem. Biodiversity means maintaining the balance of nature so that no one thing can become too powerful and therefore bad for everyone else.
Okay, let's go back to the question. So how are the biosphere and the biodiversity related? Sorry.
Okay, well, based on that video I just saw, well, they're very related because biodiversity is about nature being balanced by animals and plants on Earth. So, like they mentioned, no one thing can be more powerful than the other. So, for example, even though we fear snakes, we're not fond of them. They're good to have around because they take care of the rats. And if we killed off all the snakes, then we'd have a serious rat problem. So by them eating the rats and being around, they balance out the nature. So we fear them, we're not fond of them, but yet they help us in one area where there's not going to be a bunch of rats like trying to take control. So they're very much related in that sense.
That's right. I have a good understanding of that. So now I'm going to talk a little about the chemistry. I don't know if you learn any chemistry, but it's very basic. If you have an atom, you have a nucleus. That's what you find in the middle of an atom, and then you have surrounding that some electrons. That's the green dots as you see here. The nucleus has protons who have a plus charge, and those surrounding the electrons, they have a negative charge. Normally an atom is balanced, so if there are 4 protons, that's what they're called, and then there will also be 4 electrons, so the whole atom would be neutral. There's no charge because negative and plus adds up. Sometimes it has one more electron than proton. In that case it would be negative charged. And sometimes it has one more proton than an electron, then it will have a plus charge. But as I said, normally there will be even protons and electrons, and the atom would be neutral. It's kind of important when you talk about water. Water is made of 2 different atoms, an oxygen and 2 hydrogens. The oxygen is of course neutral, and so are the hydrogens. But what's kind of funny with atoms are that they like to share electrons sometimes. So hydrogen are sharing, as you see here, 2 electrons with this oxygen, and this hydrogen is doing the same. So the thing about water made of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen is that oxygen is a bigger atom than the 2 hydrogens are. That means that it's pulling in the negative electrons. It's pulling them closer to its nucleus. And that means that it will actually be a little negative charge in this end, in the oxygen end, because the electrons are closer to that atom. So that means if you look over here, you have the water molecule over here again. You have a plus charge in the hydrogen end because the electrons are kind of missing a little bit in that end. They're still there, but not so much. They're more in the oxygen end. So there's a little minus charge here. Water is basically a lot of water atoms put together, water molecule atoms put together, whatever you call them. So when you put a lot of those molecules together, they will be what you see as water, as a liquid. And they will stick together because some of they have plus and minus charges in different ends. And as you maybe know that different charges attracts. So the plus charge will attract to this end of this other water molecule. And if there's another water molecule over here, it will also be attracted if it has the plus end up here. So all water molecules are attracted to each other, and that makes the liquid of water. And that also explains why you have some water drops here that's hanging. They should fall down because of gravity, but they don't, because they hold on to each other, the molecules in water. They actually also hold on to the grass here, but that's another story. It's still about charges. So, where did water come from? We don't really know that. We just know that we have water, and some of the first life, as you see here, that you can still find that stromatolites. They originated in water. So when we talk about the history of life, why is it so important to talk about water?
Okay, based on what I see on this chart, it was like the first type of organisms derived in water. Life for them began in water and so forth.
Yeah. So also life itself consists of a lot of water.